grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worry on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear a pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny, sunny, sunny side of the street.
Hi, welcome to another On the Sunny Side of the Street. I'm your host, Todd Gross, a clinical psychologist and director of Adams Street Associates in Newton. And our show, On the Sunny Side of the Street, tries to take a look at another side of reality. A lot of the good news that is happening that doesn't usually get reported in the papers or the news on TV, where you hear a lot of negative stories, and the ability of people to help each other and reach out and make a difference in each other's lives when they're involved in helping. So, over the 6 years we've been doing this program, there have been a lot of stories that have really caught my attention where people have come on the show, and it's been very moving. And today is perhaps one of the most moving stories I think we've ever done. If you take the philosophy that we're all connected as people, no matter where we live, any part of the world, and that when we try to help each other when someone's in need, that we're really defining our humanity by really reaching out, those kind of stories really make a big difference. And today we have a story about an 11-year-old boy from Ecuador, far away, who was helped in an amazing way by people from Newton, and who themselves were helped by the experience as well. So in this heartwarming story, to help us tell it for you to watch, we have first to my left Marie Presti. Hi Marie, how are you?
Todd. How are you?
Thank you for coming. I'm good. And Marie is the president-elect of the Newton Rotary Club. And to her left is Mark Epstein, who is the current president of the Rotary Club.
Hi,
Mark.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful to have you. Wonder, maybe I'll start with you, Marie, for our audience, if you could tell us a little bit of the story of this family, Gabby and John, who we're going to learn a lot about, and what kinds of medical issues he had as well.
Okay. Well, John was born with several heart defects, and the heart defects were pretty extensive. He had what they call his two major arteries were reversed. So the artery that is supposed to go to the lungs went to the rest of the body,
Yes.
and the other artery went to the lungs instead of the rest of the body first. So he was actually getting a lot less oxygen than he was supposed to right from when he was born. He also had a major hole in his heart, and he had what the doctors described as a microvalve issue that was had to be closed up.
I see.
So he had basically 4 problems. And when he was 4 years old, his mom was able to raise enough money to be able to put a stent, they call it a Glenn procedure, in just for him to be able to survive at that point. Typically babies, from what I understand now, would have it much earlier on, but they were very poor and didn't have the money to be able to do that.
It's a farming community, right, that they live in?
That they live in, right, close to the coast in Ecuador. And so she raised enough money. It took 4 years to do that, and during that time John could barely walk for 4 years. He was carried around and very listless, and once he had that, he was actually able to walk as a boy, but never run. Never really be a boy.
He had to really be careful, right?
He had to be careful that his heart wouldn't overpump because it was never still working correctly. And they went on for many years that way because that's all they had. And he, at any point, could have had the heart stop working.
Yes.
When he was 10 years old, which was a year ago, they were given the opportunity to go to Barcelona to have what they thought was going to be the procedure.
Yes, to save him.
To save him, which would have been the transposition of those 2 major arteries. And they went for a month, and they did have an operation, but the doctors there said that it was too complicated, or something about them not being a resident there, where they actually just put in a second stent instead of doing the major procedure.
A big disappointment, I'm sure.
Huge for them, because actually what the doctors here said was that second stent went against the first one, and he got worse.
Yes.
So he went home, and after 5 days ended up back in an Ecuadorian hospital for another month trying to recover. He almost died. And they were really at wit's end. They weren't sure what to do. And that's when we got involved.
Thank you. You can just imagine what it must have been like for Gabby, the mom, and for this boy to go through those trials and tribulations and those setbacks. And then we have entering the picture one of the heroes here, I think. I'm sitting with two of them. Mark, can you say a little bit? I know you were at that point as considering presidency of the Rotary and involved with the organization Gift for Life. So I wonder if you could say a little bit about that experience for you. What happened on your end around trying to figure out how you could be involved in this?
Sure. Well, our incoming president had relocated, and I was asked to jump in and take over as president.
Yes.
And one of the things that I wanted to do was to introduce the Gift of Life into our Rotary agenda.
Yes.
Gift of Life is run by Rotarians, although it's not strictly a Rotary project. And the fact that it's run by Rotarians is automatic credibility, because 100 cents of every dollar of everything that happens goes to the project.
Very important.
And so you automatically know that you have a credible organization. So I met with the people of Gift of Life and heard that they strictly do life-saving cardiac surgery for children in third world countries who, without it, will die.
How wonderful that they do.
And I couldn't imagine making a bigger difference. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than the difference between life and death, especially with a child.
You bet.
So one of the things that I brought to our club is a very strong desire for us to sponsor this child, to bring him in on Gift of Life. Now, we were given choices, and John and Gabby were supposed to come here last year. And the last successful project that came here went a lot longer than expected, and the budgets were used up.
I see.
And one of the compelling parts of this story is that they were told just about while they were getting their visas that, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hold off. You can't come this year.
Oh, another disappointment.
And they're not even near a city. So what they had to do just to get to that point is incredible. So it was a very compelling story. And most of the children that we get through Gift of Life are much younger. And John probably had a 50% chance of seeing 12 and probably less than 1% chance of seeing 13.
So he was really in danger of his life being significantly short.
And one of the reasons also that I chose him to come with our club is our club does a lot for a lot of local organizations, but we don't always see the recipient. We don't taste it. We're not heavily involved in it. And one of the thoughts I had was that it would really move our club, because there's a lot of different parts of this that most of our club members will be personally involved in.
Sure. What kind of things did you have to do, just for people watching who might be worried, like, this is like moving mountains, you'll never be able to get a kid here. What kind of things did you have to do to make it possible for him to come?
Well, Gift of Life itself does a lot of the logistics. So
I see.
We were focused on two things: raising money.
Yep.
And providing a home for them to stay in, and all the logistics of how they're going to get to and from, and everything of that nature. And one of the problems with our club and any other nonprofit right now is all these other entities that we raise money for, we didn't want to penalize all the local charities by giving them less.
Yes.
So our goal, what we had to do is we had to raise the money over and above what we normally do.
Right, I get you.
And so what we did is we had an additional fundraising event that Marie put together, the Newton Home and Garden Show, and we stepped up our automobile donation program that we do, and we just worked harder to do it. And the end result is that we were able to finance this program without lowering the grants that we do for local community grants.
What a great accomplishment. And it also implies that people really took this cause to heart and pitched in to make it happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you find that in involvement in the show, too?
We did. We talked with, even all the vendors who participated in the home show, we told them why we were trying to do this, and they were even more willing to want to help out, to make that happen, as well as having a lot of participants come to the home show, a lot of residents in the area.
I think that's so significant for people watching to hear that when you have a cause that people really are drawn to, that it can bring out the best in everybody. And I wonder if you could, both of you, take me a little bit to now. You succeed in getting him to the country. Tell me what happens from there on. This is an amazing story, too.
Okay, so what we did is
Yes.
when he arrived at the airport, Mark and I were there to greet him.
Cool.
And they were a little apprehensive and mistrusting because they've had come so many issues along the way.
Everything looked good, and then it got smashed each time.
Right, so they were mistrusting of us to begin with, but we opened up our hearts and our homes and our club and greeted them, and they ended up coming to my house 2 months ago, and I had them stay with me for the period of time before they went into the hospital, and then while they were in the hospital, all of the different Rotarians went and took turns visiting them in the hospital.
Amazing.
So they had a lot of support, emotional support during that time. After they were done with the hospital and they had to recover, John had to recover, they came back to my house, and the last 6 weeks they've been at my house.
Yes.
And they just left yesterday.
Yes. One of the things I would like to share with the audience, too, is they had the pleasure of going to your house and meeting this wonderful mom and this wonderful boy, as well as your family and a translator.
Yes.
And that was an experience I will never forget, to see where he's at. Maybe what would be really good is for people to hear from both of you a little bit of what it's felt like for each of you to be involved in this process that's gone on around John and Gabby.
Well, we knew that we were going to be emotionally involved, but I think both of us, or everybody involved, couldn't really understand how much it would be. Marie and I were also acting as their advocates, and we were present at most of the doctor's appointments and visits, and so that we had to have a good understanding of what was going on and be able to, reassure her. One of the early faux pas was that when the doctors come in this country, they tell you everything that could potentially go wrong, no matter how minuscule it is.
Yes, right.
Well, what we didn't realize is they've never had a speech like that given to them at these other countries.
Oh, so it must have been
The
terrifying.
risk of dying, basically.
Yes.
Yes,
So
and so they're saying
frightening
this
to hear
in front
those
of John,
said. Yes,
and in
for a
front of the
little boy.
mother. So they came with excellent hopes and expectations, and they were like dashed because they thought that there wasn't much of a chance of success after hearing that, and it took us a lot to overcome
over
that and
that hump.
understand that that's
That's
just
a
how they
really
do it.
important point, Mark, because my experience with people, too, around medical issues is that hope plays an amazing part and translates even into biological outcomes. If you have more hope, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference. So you had to help restore that and help them understand
faith.
why the doctors were doing that and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, it was a scary time. And when he was in his surgery, which I think was about 7 hours, or it felt like about 7 days,
I bet it did.
even though these are people that we've only known for 2 weeks, it was like having an immediate family member in surgery, and it was scary because it's a very complicated, high-risk surgery.
Yes.
And you were just scared to death with the waiting. And that was one of the things I did not anticipate being that heavily involved in.
Yes,
And that
it really gripped you, and
Absolutely.
yeah, so much was involved, and you realized it when you saw what was going on.
And not being able to speak Spanish,
Right.
there's always the communication issues, and you resort to speaking with your hands or trying to find somebody that can,
Right, to
can
translate.
help you. But probably one of the most moving parts of this entire situation was once he got through the surgery and he went up to the recovery room and he was in intensive care, he must have had literally about 50 machines attached to him, hoses attached to him. We were told, not to be shocked. It's not going to look, it's going to look
Yeah,
scary, and he had all kinds of equipment on him. Well, most everybody had already gone, and it was just Gabby and I that were left, and they would just let 1 or 2 in at a time to, just see him, and he was unconscious, of course. So Gabby and I go in together. Now, ever since John arrived, and through his entire life, his fingernails are either black or dark purple from a poor circulation standpoint.
Yeah.
So to this point, Gabby has been told by everybody, including us, everything went well, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine. But she's a mother, and she worries, and she's, you know, a suspect of everything she hears. So she brings me in, and she had already been in, obviously, and she takes John's hand, and she goes like this, and she puts her hand next to it, and his nails were as pink as hers. So
Great sign.
the look on her face, it just, all the stress went away, and it was at that point that she knew it was a success. So that was the most
That's
moving
beautiful. And for you, Marie, I know your story is incredible too, in terms of what happened in the house and how it felt for you.
Right. Well, it's been interesting for me. I just as Mark said, I really never expected to get anything out of it. This was a way for me to give something to them, and
Yes.
as my parents always taught me, you do good and forget about it. So that was my plan. And but you know, they've given me back so much over these last 2 months. First, I personally have had a really tough year. 2008 has been a tough year for me, both personally and professionally. I'm a real estate agent, and as everyone knows, in real estate, it's been a tough year.
Times, yeah.
And I learned from Gabby that she's gone through so much more adversity than I ever have,
Yeah.
and she's been able to be so strong and optimistic. And you know, she looked to God for support,
Yes,
and she
she
showed me,
mentioned,
how it was great to keep looking forward to the future.
She's a real inspiration.
She's an inspiration for me, and she's taught me to be strong for my family.
Interesting.
And also, I think for me, I've learned to be appreciative of what I do have. And that's something I learned that I never thought I would have. I mean, I have so much to be thankful for, and I think most of us do. But a lot of times we get caught up a little bit into that woe is me syndrome.
Yes.
And thinking about what we don't have, as
Right.
opposed to just trying to take a look at what we do have and what we have to give back to others.
Oh, well said.
So that's really what I
Beautiful.
feel like we've learned. And of course, my family, my au pair, Catalina, who's like my 22-year-old daughter, she's gotten a lot from giving, and she was been my main interpreter for the last 2 months. And my 2-year-old son,
That
Brendan,
cute little guy. Yeah.
he felt like he had an older brother for 2 months, and he's already asked for him today, which is very sad. He's like, is John Seepa-Seeps? He's actually gone home.
He's missing him.
Yes.
I have to say again for the audience that seeing them interact with your family was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Everybody hugging each other, everybody sort of comfortable with each other, everybody feeling safe, everybody feeling close. And that's something you get out of this that you can't even put words to. You know, it's so powerful. As a matter of fact, I thought for the viewing audience it would be fun for them to get a little feel for these people we're talking about and what this meant to them. So we're going to show a little clip of how this affected them, and a little bit of each of you talking too from, I guess it was a
Rotary meeting.
Rotary meeting where they attended, and this whole situation was being looked at. So if we can roll that clip, I'd like people to see a little bit of this. Now here you see John right there.
He's a major football nut, and he was never been able to play because after a handful of steps, he's too tired. So when he woke up from surgery, his first question is, am I going to be able to play football?
To my house, I learned in Spanish, because I don't speak Spanish, but I learned how to say, my house is your house, because I wanted to make them feel comfortable. So I said, mi casa es su casa, and they smiled a little bit when they first got here. But several weeks later, when I was in the hospital room with John, and I wanted to take one of his French fries, he turned to me and he said, Marie, mi casa es su casa, meaning he has nothing to, you know, he's very poor, he has nothing, but he had his health, and he wanted to say, anything in my room is up for you. And it
Y ahora que ha sido operado en una forma exitosa, ¿qué piensas hacer cuando estás completamente recuperado? ¿Cuál es la primera cosa que piensas hacer?
Jugar fútbol.
He wants to play soccer.
Bueno, yo estoy muy agradecida con Mari, porque Mari para mí es un ángel. La quiero mucho y es la segunda mamá de John.
Noche le vale. Okay. And to Marie, Presti, Marie, now capture this, guys. Marie is an angel. Marie is an angel. She is to me a sister, and she is to John like another mother.
Well, as you can see, it really meant
I gotta get
an awful lot to
Last
them.
week's news from
And just, I'm glad that the viewers got a chance to see the mom and the boy, and maybe you could give me a sense of how he's doing right now. I mean, he left, so that's a good sign. He had doctor's checkup before he left.
He did. He met with the doctors for the last time this week and had a clear bill of health. The doctor said that the operation could not have gone any better,
Yes.
and that he was going to, it was going to take 6 to 9 months for his incision to heal, because it's a major open heart surgery.
Yes.
But after that, he would be able to do anything that any other child could do. It was amazing.
That is a miracle.
I know. It really is. It's just
really is.
incredible.
And from John's perspective, what it meant to him, because he's just a major soccer nut, every waking moment he's sitting there watching soccer is that he's going to be able to play.
Yes.
So what our club did is we presented him with a soccer ball that each of the members signed.
Really?
So he took that home with him.
He carried it on the plane, by the way.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, that is wonderful. Let's get a little to the point of the Rotary Club and involvement, because that's what you guys represent, and what a wonderful organization. Can you say a little bit both about their involvement and also about looking forward, what kinds of things might be helpful to keep the Rotary Club, vibrant and able to do these kinds of community actions?
Well, the motto of Rotary is service above self. And one of the things that we do real well is everything that we collect, or the monies that we raise, goes towards whatever the programs are. So there aren't any administrative costs or things like that. So we're able to make a difference with very little. And we do a lot of local fundraising. As a matter of fact, we would like to invite anybody who's interested in coming to see what we're about. We have a weekly lunch meeting at Braeburn Country Club. They can contact Marie or myself, and we'd love to have them as a guest, as our guest, to see what we're about. But everybody can make a difference. It doesn't have to be a major effort. It can be a small effort. They could donate their car, they could write a check, they could come help and work on something, and you can make a difference. To me, the bottom line is, it's not what you have, it's what you do. And at the end of the day, what I want to have in my office is just a few pictures on the wall. No plaques, no nothing, just so that if I'm having a bad day, I can look up and I say, okay, yeah, we did this. And you can make a difference. And it doesn't take a grand effort. It just takes a little bit of work and a group like the Newton Rotary Club to get it done.
Well said. To be able to look up and see a picture of John and Gabby, I mean, I think that's got to be pretty powerful for you.
Yes, it is. And one of the things I enjoy most about our club is that it's always a group effort. Everybody does a little bit. Nobody has to take on just everything. And, everybody in our club had some time with John and Gabby, whether they took them for a meal or for a visit, or the first time he played in the snow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he told me he didn't like snow. He was glad to go back to the warm climate, but he got the experience, yes.
Yeah. So it was just, it's a life-changing experience, and the whole club got involved in it, and it really just showed that, you can make a difference.
Yes. And all this is volunteer. It's not money, right?
Correct.
It's not for money.
Correct. And being a member of a Rotary Club, there are Rotary Clubs all over the world. And if you're ever traveling and you're a Rotarian, you know that there's somebody, if you need some help, or you want to go visit or make up a meeting, there's somebody everywhere.
Wow. Can you add a little what your feeling is about, Rotary and the needs that they have now, and how it feels for you to be a member of this club? Because it sounds wonderful to me.
It really is, and I've been a member for 3 years in Watertown, and then I moved to the Rotary Club in Newton. So I've been a member of 2 Rotary clubs.
I see.
Both clubs do wonderful things within their respective communities. And Newton has just done so many wonderful things for organizations within the city, for example, for the Newton Community Service Center, for the YMCA in Newton, for the Girls and Boys Club, for the Senior Center, for Second Step. So these are a lot of the local organizations that we give back to, whether it be in terms of money or services or help. And we try to broaden our reach. We want to help more, and the more people and the more effort we can get, the more we can do. So that's why we are looking for a few good men and women who can join us to help with that effort.
As you can see, people, to reinforce what Marie said, there are contact phone numbers there for you if you're interested in getting involved. And I guess personally, what I would say from having been involved in this story and met both of you and the organization you represent, if I were looking for something to be involved in where not only could I give and make a difference, but also, as you guys pointed out, get back so much in your hearts, I can't think of a better organization than what you represent. And I think you have a right to be incredibly proud, as do the members. The proof is just the smile on John's face, as one example.
And if I could just add a little
Please,
something, Todd,
yes.
too. There are a few other organizations who actually stepped up within Newton.
Oh, yeah,
and
let's hear
helped
about
me.
that a little bit, too, yeah.
I tried to solicit a few other organizations that I'm a part of to participate. Well, certainly my office. I work for Carp Lieberman and Kern, Sotheby's International.
Yes.
And they gave John a Christmas party because he wasn't at home for Christmas, so bought him all kinds of
Awesome, yeah.
presents, which was wonderful. Had the Newton Mothers Forum join in, and they had John and Gabby over for dinner at one of the Newton moms. They donated luggage for him, and they also gave him and Gabby clothes. And also my BNI Newton Connectors was another organization who donated meals, brought meals over to my house.
Yes.
So this was really a community effort.
And you covered so many needs of this family, too, with all these people's help.
Right, and everybody stepped up, and I really want to thank all of the groups that I asked for help, because none of them said no, they all came through.
Well, I think, one of the things that we really emphasize on this show is how much there really potential is for good inside of each of us. And when you see the power of what you did on the lives of this family, and the mother's comments, there's a YouTube video that we couldn't show, but where she is thanking you and saying, that you are an angel, and she's going like this to all of you guys, this is what you mean. The story is so moving, I have to tell you, and I'm so glad that you were able to tell us. And I know that his involvement, we don't have much time to talk about, but I know there's a group in New York that's involved too, from Colombia.
They're a Colombian organization based in New York called Cortisone to Cortisone, and they've worked with us, and we're planning to do more to save more lives, to do it again as well. So we've worked in conjunction with them too.
And I know they had a function in honor of him.
Yes, this past
you
Sunday.
think about, for the audience, think about what message we're sending to people from another country about how we care. And the caring goes across borders. That's what is so beautiful about this story. For people watching again, I would like to really encourage you to get involved in the Rotary, and I also want to thank Marie and Mark so much for coming. Amazing, amazing story and wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for our audience, please join us again on another sunny side of the street, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Sunny side of the street. Can't you hear a pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny, sunny, sunny side of the street.